Hey, I'm Chris with RnineT Productions, and today we're going to talk about windscreens and fairings for the BMW R90. Okay, so I think the R90 is a phenomenal bike. If you've never gotten a chance to ride one, you absolutely should, because it is a really cool bike. If you have a regular R90 model and you don't have like the Racer, there isn't any sort of fairing or wind protection. So I do think it is beneficial to add some sort of a windscreen or fairing. Certainly for me, being 5'8" with the longer reach on the bike, the wind just seems to hit me just right, that it pretty much hits my chest and then pushes all up into my helmet, and it just feels like it's essentially trying to constantly rotate the helmet off the back of my head, which isn't very comfortable at highway speeds. So really anything above 65 miles an hour is really where I notice it. So I wanted to go ahead and try a couple different fairings, kind of windscreen options out. So the one that you see here is actually the Puig naked screen is what they call it, and it comes in this black bottom panel and then this kind of dome hump piece here. Actually, this is the dark smoke version. There is a black version, a clear version, and a light smoke. And kind of, you know, in terms of mounting, it's actually fairly straightforward. It just mounts right here into the forks on either side. It's very, very easy. It's two bolts that mount it. The one thing you'll find is when you kind of mount it, as you kind of tighten them up, the windscreen's gonna kind of naturally twist a little bit. So you're gonna kind of have to balance it out. Now, my bigger gripes, I think, with this windscreen in general is the fact that it's all plastic. So I think the R90 is a very good looking bike. And one of the things that I like about the R90 is the attention to detail and all the billets and aluminum parts and machining. And so that's kind of really my struggle with the Puig, is it's just this plastic piece on the front of the bike. Now, I don't necessarily think that it's a terrible looking piece. I think it does fairly well. And on my particular R90, I've actually got the black headlight bezel with the grille. A lot of the R90s have the silver bezel. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of really my gripe. It certainly made a difference riding around, you know, at 70, 75 miles an hour. I definitely noticed a decrease in the amount of wind that is hitting my chest and my helmet. It is much better. It's a little more comfortable ride. But really for me, it's kind of the look and the fact that this is essentially plasticky. It just doesn't jive for me. And when I think of the level and attention of detail on the BMW R90. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and remove this windscreen, and the one that I'm gonna actually go ahead and put on is actually the Rizoma one, which is a actual solid aluminum piece, and that one comes in a brushed aluminum or a black. Now, if I had the silver headlight bezel, I probably would have gone for aluminum. Because I have kind of the blacked out headlight, I did go for the anodized black version of the Rizoma headlight windscreen, which is what they call it. So Puig calls this basically a naked fairing. Rizoma calls theirs a headlight fairing or a headlight screen. So let me go ahead and kind of show you what the difference is in terms of, we'll go ahead and get that one installed on here and then kind of just show you some comparison shots in terms of the two of them and what it looks like on the bike. So I'll throw some photos up here showing kind of some photos that I took of the Puig here in terms of front and side profile shots. Okay, so now we've got the Rizoma headlight fairing is what they call it installed. So you can kind of see that. So you can see it's not quite as wide as the Puig was, but it's actually a little bit taller. The other thing that I really like, maybe you can kind of see it if I angle the handlebars. I don't have it completely tightened down. One of the things I like is that the angle of this is a little bit of adjustable. It's not that it's a ton of adjustment, but I do think depending on your height and some of the other impact, having the ability to move this windscreen and kind of change that angle a little bit potentially can make a little bit more difference. The Puig is pretty much where it mounts up, and that's kind of it. The other thing I really like about this is everything's aluminum. So the actual headlight fairing piece here is solid aluminum with a black anodization. The brackets are aluminum, and the way they mount. The other thing I really like is, so the Puig just simply mounted into the forks here, but there wasn't really any other supports. The Rizoma actually has a bracket piece that there's a little rubber bumper that actually sits down against the fork. So as the wind is pushing on this in the bracket assembly, it's actually being held up in place by two support spots on the fork. So I do think that's a little bit nicer setup actually than the Puig that was just simply mounted in those two spots, and it did absolutely have some flex in it, and you could see that as you were kind of riding on the highway. So overall, as far as look and fit and finish, I really like the Rizoma a lot better. As soon as we get a little bit nicer weather and this rain clears up, I'm gonna go out and do some test riding with this, and I'll be able to give you a comparison kind of back to back of what I actually think of the Puig, again being a little bit bigger but not necessarily as tall as this one, versus the Rizoma. I think obviously the Rizoma looks considerably better. I like that the Rizoma is metal instead of the plastic of the Puig. I think that just fits overall the better, you know, kind of fit and finish of the R90 to begin with. So I just think it's a better fit. And so again, we'll go ahead and get some miles on this and kind of let you know kind of what the comparison looks like. Now price-wise, the Puig screen's about 130, 135 bucks. The Rizoma is going to cost you a little bit north of $200. So it's a little bit more expensive. The Puig screen is very, very cheap, but it is also plastic, and this is all aluminum and metal hardware, which I like as well. So I hope you found this comparison helpful. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.